Om Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavignopashantaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham karishyami siddhir me sada yenakshara samamnayam adhigamya maheshwarat kritsnam vyakarnam proktam tasmai shri Tasmai Paninaye Namaha Vakyakaram Vararuchim Bhashyakaram Patanjalim Paninim Sutrakarancha Pranatosmi Munitrayam Vagarthaviva Samprikto Vagarthaf Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitaro Vande Parvati Parameshwaro Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om. When we were saying our prayer, this is the problem of knowing too much Sanskrit sometimes. I was translating the sentences as we were going, and so I got a little lost. It's funny. So in our Panchavritti, right? Panchavritti meaning Sanadhyanta Dhatu Vrittihi, Krit Vrittihi, Taddita Vrittihi, Samasa Vrittihi, Ekashesha Vrittihi. So we've seen a little bit of Sanadhyantaha. In Kṛdanta, we're now looking at Kṛdanta Śānac. Kṛdanta Śānac 4. So around page 66 in this book. We've seen so far, we've looked a little bit at Kṛdanta, and just as a quick review, Kṛdanta and Śānac. So these are two suffixes. So Kṛdanta, right? When we're saying Kṛdanta, this Kṛdanta, the pratyas that we're looking at, they're suffixes. Krit pratyas are suffixes. We add them to a dhatu and make a new pratipadika, right? So we're adding Kṛdanta and Śānac to dhatus, and we're making new pratipadika. These two are substitutions for lat lakara and lit lakara. So present tense and future tense. Kṛdanta is parasmaipada and Śānac is atmanepada. So if we look at this chart, right? So if I have parasmaipadi dhatu drish, for example, drish becomes pashya, as we know. If I just make a normal verb in lat lakara, it would be pashyati, kartri, lat, right? Pashyati. But if I want to, a parasmaipadi suffix will be, I'll add Kṛdanta, not Śānac, right? Śānac is atmanepadi. So atmanepadi, here's a dhatu lab. I'm going to add Śānac, you'll get labhamana. We're going to see that today. So we're going to see Śānac today. When we're doing karmani, remember, no matter what the dhatu is, we're always going to add atmanepadi, atmanepada suffix. Right? So even though drish is 1p, it's still drishyate as a verb, right? Becomes a, drishyate, atmanepada. So similarly, we're going to add the atmanepada suffix Śānac. no matter what. Okay, we're going to add Śānac. So in Karmani, there is no, you can't have Shatru. It's only Śānac in Karmani. Okay. Does this feel okay so far? We've seen this. Okay. All right. Let's look at Śānac. And if people have questions about Shatru, we can come back. Okay. So, Śānac. So you're going to repeat after me. Śānac. 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 Okay. So you can tell someone, what were you studying? Śānac. And they'll say, bless you. Śānac is, it denotes karta, karma, or bhave. It can be any. Right? Karta, karma, or bhava. So it denotes any agent, object, or action. Okay? When we're talking about, sorry, just going back a little bit. When we're talking about Shatru, on the other hand, Shatru only denotes karta. Okay, Shatru only denotes karta, but Śānac, Śānac can denote all three. It can denote any of them. Okay, so that's one difference. Shatru only denotes the karta, so it's kartari Shatru. Śānac can denote any of them. So it can point to, it can be kartari, it can be karmani, or it can be bhave. The content of Śānac is a bit funny. So you see this Śānac, you finally are left with just ana. Ana. So that means what? Shakara is it and Chakara is it letter, right? Śānac, sha. Well, if we're left with just ana, then sha and cha are it. Okay. Being shakara it, so shit pratyaya, what we know from this, it's going to, when you're making a tinganta, the anga changes in a certain way, right? Like bhu becomes bhava, right? We know that. Bhu becomes bhava. So being shit, shakara it, the same thing is going to happen. You're going to get the same modifications. So that's what shakara indicates. Chakara, nothing. It doesn't really indicate anything. It's just for swara. So when they were chanting this, they would chant this chakara. It would mean this for chanting. Okay, this will all makes more sense when we see some examples, but special modifications, pratyaya anga, when the anga ends with akara, ma is added to the end of the anga. Again, I'll show you an example of this in a moment. But when it ends with a, ma is added. As I said earlier, when Śānac is substituted to lat, anga will undergo modifications as we've seen in lat lakara. So if you know lat lakara, then you can figure out Śānac. And same with lit. It's a substitute for lit, so the anga will be formed in the same manner. Typo here as lit laka. Śānac ending words take the linga of the noun which it qualifies. Declension. Śānac ending word declines as a ending in masculine and neuter, which is good, right? For us, because we're most comfortable in ending punlinga and ending napumsaka linga, right? So this is good for us, right? Like Rama or Jnana. Feminine, we just add ta, which means we add a at the end and declines a ending feminine, like Ganga. Ganga, Gange, Gangaha. Gangam, Gange, Gangaha. Okay, Gangaya, etc. There's no Vigraha Vakya that we'll see for this. Okay. All right, let's look at an example. This will make it come to life. Okay. Now I'm starting with the dhatu lab. Okay, and I'm adding lat lakara. Remember, when we're making a tingantam or when we're doing Kṛdanta Śānac, they all start with a lakara. Okay. So an option here is I can replace this lat with tip plus g. I can make it into a verb, or I can make it into a noun by adding Kṛdanta Śānac, for example. Now, adding this lat to dhatu lab means to obtain. Lab is also 1a, first gana, atmanepadi. By the addition of the suffix, lab is qualified to be an anga, right? When I add something to a dhatu, the dhatu gets its new status as anga. Okay, now this thing is called an anga. Kṛdanta Śānac are pratyas, which are substitute for lat. And Śānac is atmanepada pratyaya. Since lab is atmanepadi dhatuhu, Śānac is suffix. Right? That makes sense? Since lab is atmanepadi dhatuhu, Śānac, which is atmanepada suffix, it will come in there. Okay? So if this was parasmaipadi, then we would get Kṣatra, but since atmanepadi, we get Śānac. Sha and Cha of Śānac are it letters, so you just left with ana at the end. Śānac being shit, as I said, is anga undergoes the modification as it would become a tingantam. So what that means is when we were making lat lakara verbs, we often added the at the end. Okay. We add an at the end. So that's the difference that happens there. You get an It's called shak. Okay, so you add an there. Now, this is a particular thing. Now, when it ends with akara, you're going to add makara. Ma is ended after a ending anga, followed by ana. So labha becomes labham. You add makara. Because it's ending with a here, labha, a, you're going to add makara. So labham plus ana. Finally, together it becomes labhamana. Let me pause there. Any questions here so far? Labhamana. So Śānac becomes ana, ending becomes ma, so labhamana. Okay. So what this means is we can translate it as here they took it as kartari, an agent who is obtaining. So Kṛdanta Śānac is like added ing, obtaining. We call it present participle. But we can say an object which is obtaining, or the act of obtaining itself also, right? If we want to make karmani or bhave. So it's an agent, a person who is obtaining, an object who is obtaining, which doesn't really make much sense here, or bhave, the act of obtaining itself. Another example, we're going to make drishyamana, an object which is being seen. Okay, in a Śānac pratyaya anta word, in lat, karmani prayoga, parasmai padi dhatuhu. Okay, so let's see this carefully. Drish plus lat Drish is the anga, right? And Śānac replaces, so since Drish is an Atmane, since Śānac is an Atmane pada pratyaya, because we're in, so I made a little mistake earlier, but because we're in passive voice, because we're in Karmani Prayoga, right, passive voice, Atmane pada is used. So Drish, I think I said 1A earlier, it's 1P, right? You say Pashyati, usually. It's 1P. So it's Parasmai Padi Dhatu. But because we're in Karmani Prayoga, remember, Karmani Prayoga, we always do Atmane Pada. We take Atmane Pada suffix. Right? Drishyate, we would make the verb in Karmani. So Śānac is suffix. Okay? So Drish plus Śānac. Does that make sense? Because we're in Karmani Prayoga. Shacha go away. So we're left with Ana. Now, what we're going to do, because we're in Karmani Prayoga, we add Yakara. Right? Just like we do when we are making a verb, Drishyate, we have the Yakara. So Drish becomes Drishya, and then plus Ana. Right? Drishya plus Ana. But we can't just go ahead and add it. Since the anga itself is ending with akara, we have to add makara. Ma is added after a ending anga. So drishya becomes drishyam. Drishyam plus ana becomes drishyamana. Okay. Okay. So now the reason it's translated as being object which is being seen. Okay. It doesn't say an object which is seeing. Why? Because we added this passive voice. It's in Karmani Prayoga. Since it's Karmani Prayoga, we're talking about the karma object. Object which is being seen. Since when Karmani Prayoga, we're going to be talking about the object and we're going to translate it as being seen, right? So the object is being seen. Okay. So earlier, I said something wrong. What I said is, I said this can be it can be an agent, it can be an object, or it can be bhave. Well, not really, because we're in Kartri Prayoga, we're going to talk, it's going to be the Karta. So depending on the Prayoga, you're going to get the sense of what it is. So here we're in Kartri Prayoga, we're going to say it's going to be the agent who is doing. When we're in Karmani Prayoga, it's the object which is being done to, or which is being obtained. Okay, so you have to see the Prayoga, and that's going to tell you where it's Kartari, we're talking about the agent, Kartari, right? Think of the word Karta, Kartari, or Karmani, it's going to refer to the object. So I wanted to backtrack there, right? So if this was in Karmani Prayoga, it would be Labhyamana. So first of all, let me just pause, right? This is Kartri Prayoga, so it's Labhamana. If it was Kartri Prayoga, it would be Labhyamana, and it would be an object which is obtained. Okay. So we can see it, but then it would be a little bit different. Labhyamana. Oh, here's that example, actually, that what I just said. What I just said is being made here. So we saw Labhamana earlier. Now here's Labhyamana. Okay, so Lab, we can add it in Kartri and it means the karta, the one who is obtaining. But now we're doing karmani, so it's the object which is being obtained. Lat gets replaced by Śānac because we're in passive voice. It also happens to be an Atmane Padi Dhatu. Either way, you're going to have Śānac. Chakara goes away, you get left with Ana, so Laba, Ana. Now, being Shit, the same changes with the Anga are going to happen just like they do when we're making a verb. So here we're in Karmani Prayoga, so we're going to add Yakara. So Labhya, Ana. Ending with Akara, we're going to add Ma, so Labhyam, and then Ana, so Labhyamana. Okay, earlier we said Labhamana, one who is obtaining. Here, Labhyamana, an object which is being obtained. Let me know if you want me to pause. Here's now. So we saw Kartari Prayoga, we saw Karmani Prayoga in Lat Lakara. Now let's look at Lit Lakara, future tense. Okay, let me take the question before I introduce.
Yeah, just wanted a clarification. Yeah. So Atmane Pade endings would go te, ite, and te. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's not the Yakara is only for Karmani Prayoga. I think that's where is the correct.
Yeah, that's where the difference is.
Mm-hmm.
Is in Karmani Prayoga. When we're in Shatra and Śānac, so when we're in Karmani Prayoga, you're gonna add a Yakara.
So it's the difference between Parasmaipada and Atmanepada is te, ite, and te as opposed to ti, te, anti.
That's when we're talking about verbs.
Correct.
But when we're talking about this,
Yes. So same thing applies here. I suppose.
Yeah, here you'll get either Shatra if it's Parasmaipadi, or if it's Atmanipadi, you get Śānac.
The other question
unless it's Karmani, and then you get it for both. Yeah.
Other question I have is, so all of them would end up in the once you have when they get the anga, correct?
Yeah, as far as my understanding, they'll all end with us. We'll add a makara to all of them.
Always with the Śānac. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen when we get it does happen. It happens when we're across the board for Śānac. I haven't seen an example. We'll look at more examples. If we find an example, we'll point it out.
Thank
you. This one is actually Shatru. I don't think we need to review this, but this is a Shatra ending word in Lit Lakara. Just as a review though, like when we're Vach, since Vach is Parasmaipadi, 1P, Shatru is going to place Lit instead of Śānac. Shatru, Shakara, R are it, so we're left with At. Now in Lit Lakara, additional suffix Sya is added. So Vach, Sya, At. Now some sandhi happens, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. But I don't want to go through all the rules, but Cha becomes Kakara, Sa becomes Murdanya Shakara, so Vakshyat. Vakshyat. Okay, now that will help us understand this. Now I have Lab plus Lit. Now, Śānac is Atmane Pada Pratyaya. Since Lab is Atmane Padi Dhatuhu, unlike what we saw Vach was Parasmaipadi, right? Lab is Atmane Padi Dhatu, therefore Śānac is suffix now. But Śānac is replacing Lit this time, not Lat Lakara. So you have to, So we would know that from the final form. Shakara, chakara go away, you're left with ana. So lab ana. Now, so it'd be labsya ana almost, right? Now what happens is this labsya, when it comes together, ma is still added. So it's labsyam. But you'll notice that makara or bakara becomes pakara. And that's another sandhi rule, that ba is followed by sa, and so it's going to be replaced by pakara. This is one of the sandhi rules. So it'd be, instead of labsyamana, it'd be labsyamana, labsya, pakara, labsyamana. Okay, so same thing. So just as we saw with lat lakara, lit lakara, except we're adding a sya in between now. Okay, for future tense. So now the meaning, okay, we're in kartari prayoga. So therefore, we're going to be talking about a karta. An agent who will obtain in the future, right? Future tense. Agent who will obtain. So see how much meaning is now packed into each of these parts of the word. That's why Sanskrit is so rich, because each of the aspects of the word give meaning. Remember how I said Shatru is only Kartari? That's because if it's Karmani, then we're going to take Śānac. So that's why you're only left with Kartari for Shatra. So Śānac can be all three, including Karmani and Bhave. Derivation of Vakshamana. So same process, lit gets placed with Śānac. Śānac becomes Ana. Because we're in Litrikara, we add Sya. So Vachsya Ana. Vachpasya. There's some sandhi that takes place, so it becomes it'll be Vakshya. And because it's ending with a, we're going to add makara. So Vakshyam. Vaksham, ana, vakshamana. Vakshamana. It's karmani. Here it happens to be karmani prayoga. This can also be, trying to think about that. If we looked at this earlier, if it was Kartari Prayoga, we would have added Shatru. Because this Vach is 1P, because it's in Karmani Prayoga, we're taking Śānac. That's the only reason why. So you get Vakshat if it's Kartari Prayoga, or you get Vakshamana if it's Karmani Prayoga. Because this is a Parasmaipati Dhatu. Vach. So Vakshamana will be an object, because we're in Karmani Prayoga, an object which will be told, future tense. If it was Vakshat, it'll be a subject which will be told. Vakshat will be a subject, Vakshamana will be an object. But that's, we just had to be careful. I think we saw this example, lapsyamana already, right? Yeah, we've seen this example. Okay. Here are a bunch of examples, but I want to do this for a few minutes. Okay. Now, here is a tricky test. Okay, we're going to give information on each of these words, and we'll follow a process, which I'll show you in a moment. So the first one, so if we take gamyamanaha, we're going to take off the pratipadika, take out the pratikadeva by taking off the vibhakti. So if I take the ending, so just be gamyamana, right? Without the 1-1, gamyamana. The pratipadika is gamyamana, akaranta. Akaranta punlinga or napumsakalinga, depending on the context. Gamyamana. Now let's find out the dhatu and pratyaya. So gamyamana. What do you think the dhatu is? Gamyamana, right? Gam. 1P to go. Gam dhatu. The pratyaya, is it Shatru Śānac? Gamyamana. You see mana, ana, so you see Śānac. Yeah, exactly. So we see Śānac. So dhatu gam plus Śānac. Now, is the lakara lat lakara or lit lakara? Go. So now we're going backwards. Gamyamana. So you don't see is, if sya is seen, then it's lit. If not, it's lat. We don't see gamishyamana, right? Oh, it is number 2. I gave it away. Number 1, right? So this is lat lakara. We don't see sya. Sya gives away lit. Okay. Now, what is the prayoga? Kartari, karmani, and bhave. Now, one way we can figure this out is in lat. Oh, sorry. When the dhatu is P, Śānac should be in karmani or bhave. Right? So we know it's P. Since we have Śānac, that means we have karmini. You also get a little trick if you see the yakara there too, right? Gamya. Okay. Now, how do we translate this word now? Okay, we've got a lot of information. We know it's gam, Śānac. We know it's lat lakara, and we know it's karmani prayoga. Lat lakara, karmani prayoga. Since it's karmani, we're going to say it's an object. An object which will, because we're in, oh, no, not in future tense, we're in latlakar. So an object which is gone, which has gone, because it's an object. The object has gone. The object has gone. So karmani prayoga, that's how we translate, right? Gone, not going. The object which has gone. Okay. But here karmani, so it's the, so the way they translate it here is actually better. The object, the karma, which is being reached. So it's the object of going, right? The object which is reached. So that's better actually. Sorry about that. Object which is being reached. Gone would be past. So which is being reached. Okay, let's do one more since we have. Okay, let's do a Karishyan. So if we just take off the ending, it would be karishyat. Karishyat. So this dhatu is kṛdātu, and the pratyaya karishyan. Is this ana? No, it's not ana. So it's shatra. It's at the end. At. Now, is lakara lat or lit lakara? Do we see sya? Yes. So it's
Yes.
lit lakara, future tense. And kartari or karmani, well, kṛdātu is actually ubhayapati. That's why you see karishyat and you see kurvanaha. Those are two different sides of the same thing. So you can either take shatra or you can take Śānac, okay, for ubhayapati. Now, because you see it is shatra, it has to be kartari. If it was atmanepadi, then it would automatically be Śānac. So if you know shatru, you know kartari. So karishyan, one, so an agent or one who is doing. Kṛdātu, to do, doing. So one who is doing. We'll finish this here so we can get a small break. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. We'll pick up here and see more examples in our next class.